and approached late-night TV like a sketch comedy writer would. His show felt more comparable to SNL rather than Letterman.
Our guests don't get paid a cent.
Control group created.
Conan was considered by Leno's fan base, as that is mostly who he was broadcasting to be kind of cringy. The Tonight Show audience was perhaps too mainstream for Conan's off-the-wall humor, but the youth loved him, and NBC knew that investing in Conan was probably better for the longevity of the show, as Jay Leno was getting old. And that's where people suspect that Jay was intentionally sabotaging Conan behind the scenes. Part of the reason why Leno was willing to give The Tonight Show to Conan was because NBC gave him a new show called The Jay Leno Show at 10 p.m. So the new NBC TV schedule was Jay Leno Show at 10 p.m., local news at 11 p.m., then Tonight Show with Conan at 11:35 p.m. The Jay Leno Show was not different than The Tonight Show with Jay Leno at all. It was him doing monologues, sitting down with celebrity guests, all in front of a live studio audience. He took the late night format and put it on at 10 p.m., which had never been done before. Many people felt like Jay was essentially trying to recreate The Tonight Show, put it on at 10 p.m. so his fans would go and watch him instead of waiting up all the way until 11:35 to watch Conan.
Completely sabotaged him. By going on at 10 o'clock, they gave Jay all the best guests. Right. They took away all of Conan O'Brien's excitement and thunder.
Right, and then there's also no...
However, when Leno tells the story, he makes it seem like he didn't even want to do it, and the network would not let him out of a contract.
Okay, but I'm leaving before my contract is out, about 6 to 8 months early. So before I could go anywhere else,
our time has come.
It would be at least a year or 18 months before I could go and do a show somewhere else. I said to NBC, would you release him from my contract? They said, no, we want to keep you here. I said, well, okay. What are your ideas? I said, well, how about prime time? I said, well, that'll never work. And they said, no, we want to put you on at 10. We have done focus groups. People will love you at 10. Well, I don't know. It didn't seem like a good idea at the time. I said, all right. I said, can I keep my staff? There's 175 people at work here. They said, can I keep my staff? I said, yes, you can. Okay, let's try it. We guarantee you 2 years on the air, guaranteed. Now, for the first 4 or 5 months, when you're against original shows like CSI, you'll get killed. But in the spring and the summer, when the reruns come, that's when you'll pick up. Okay, great.
The Jay Leno Show started strong, racking up 17.7 million viewers and surpassing Conan's Tonight debut in both overall numbers and young demographic. However, like Conan, Leno's ratings began slipping fast. By the show's second week, the show saw a noticeable decline to 5 million viewers, placing immense pressure on the network. Jay Leno's low viewership had a domino effect on all of the shows afterwards. His show was so bad, even the local news was losing viewership.
The late-night shakeup comes, say executives, after NBC's affiliates began crying foul. Despite Leno's repeated plugs, those local newscasts are suffering, down on average 30% in the ratings since Leno became their leading.
Everyone was blaming Leno for driving down NBC's ratings, but it only got worse. Leno appeared in an October 29, 2009 interview with Broadcasting and Cable, where he expressed his willingness to return to his original 11:35 p.m. time slot if offered by the network. He was essentially proposing the idea to take the Jay Leno Show that was failing at 10 p.m., move it to 11:35 p.m., and then take The Tonight Show and move it from 11:35 to 12:05. Keep in mind that The Tonight Show aired at 11:35 p.m. after the local news for 60 years straight. Therefore, most people at that point felt that Jay should have said, let me not disrupt the honor and the tradition of The Tonight Show, let me just take my L and bow out. But Leno tells the story again like the network was holding him hostage and that Conan was okay with this.
They come and they go, listen, this show isn't working. We want to let you go. Can I get on my contract? They go, no, you're still a valuable asset to this company. How valuable can I be? You fired me twice. How valuable can I be? I said, what's your idea? They said, well, look, how about you do a half-hour show at 11:30? Now, where I come from, when the boss gives you a job and you don't do it well, I think we did a good job here, but we didn't get the ratings. Okay, so you get humbled. I said, okay, I'm not crazy about doing a half hour, but okay. What do you want to do with Conan? We'll put him on at midnight or 12:05. He keeps The Tonight Show does all that. He gets the whole hour. I said,
a colonizable planet has been discovered.
Yes. Yes. Almost guaranteed. I said, okay,
another
shake
planet
hands,
joins
that's
the
it.
When
Unity.
very poor ratings came in for the November sweeps period, NBC affiliates became alarmed, and the network's board members demanded something be done regarding the 10 p.m. lead-in. It had only been 5 months since Conan took over The Tonight Show, and 3 months since Jay launched his new show, but apparently the network was on the brink of collapse. If something were not done by January, the affiliates reasoned, they would instate syndicated programming or move up their news broadcasts and remove the Jay Leno show. Somehow, news outlets learned about NBC's time slot shift, informing the public before Conan. TMZ reported on the story with a headline reading, "NBC shakeup, Jay Leno comes out on top." Conan was obviously pissed off, feeling like a decision was made before ever consulting him. It seemed like the obvious answer was just get rid of Jay Leno. It's gonna take time for audiences to warm up to Conan. But it's not like Conan was a rookie. He had been hosting his own late night show for 15 years at that point. But for whatever reason, the network just didn't seem to prioritize Conan. They only seemed to make decisions based on Jay Leno's wants and needs. So after just 7 months of hosting The Tonight Show, a dream he had looked forward to since his very first debut, he decided it would be best if he just stepped down. On January 21st, 2010, Conan released his People of Earth letter in which he explained his refusal to host The Tonight Show at 12:05 a.m., citing concerns about undermining the legacy of The Tonight Show, which had always aired at 11:35 p.m. In the last few days, I've been getting a lot of sympathy calls, and I want to start by making it clear that no one should waste a second feeling sorry for me. For 17 years, I've been getting paid to do what I love the most, and in a world with real problems, I've been absurdly lucky. That said, I've been suddenly put in a very public predicament, and my bosses are demanding an immediate decision. For 60 years, The Tonight Show has been aired immediately following the late local news. I sincerely believe that delaying The Tonight Show into the next day to accommodate another comedy program will seriously damage what I consider to be the greatest franchise in the history of broadcasting. The Tonight Show at 12:05 simply isn't The Tonight Show. Also, if I accept this move, I will be knocking the Late Night Show, which I inherited from David Letterman and passed on to Jimmy Fallon, out of its long-held time slot. That would hurt the other NBC franchise that I love, and it would be unfair to Jimmy. So it has come to this. I cannot express in words how much I enjoy hosting this program and what an enormous personal disappointment it is for me to consider losing it. My staff and I have worked unbelievably hard, and we are very proud of our contribution to the legacy of The Tonight Show, but I cannot participate in what I honestly believe is its destruction. This letter changed the tone. This wasn't just Conan saying no, it was Conan saying no, and you're wrong, and go fuck yourself. But on January 13th, 2010, Conan gave an unforgettable statement to the entire world in his opening monologue, one that would be remembered for generations.
Hostility research complete.
Where's the target?
Another planet joins the Unity.
And I just want to say to the kids out there watching,
I am the Unity's servant.
you want in life.
Unleash our wrath.
Yeah, unless Jay
Our
Leno wants to
voices
do it
speak
too.
as one.
You pick him, I'll stick him.
Retribution is ours. Unleash our
This
wrath.
quote effectively summarized this entire war, and it cut through Jay Leno like a knife. The public response to the late night wars of 2010 was largely sympathetic towards Conan. Many saw him as the victim of a corporate mishandling of late night TV. People admired his integrity and willingness to walk away rather than compromise the show's legacy. Amid the controversy, social media users showed overwhelming support for O'Brien. Over 1 million people joined 2 Facebook groups supporting O'Brien, Team Conan and I'm with Coco. Ratings for The Tonight Show with Conan O'Brien skyrocketed, and the viral support for Conan only increased by the week of his final shows. Nationwide, there were protests in favor of O'Brien outside NBC studios in New York, LA, Chicago, and Seattle. At a rally on January 18th, Conan made a brief appearance outside The Tonight Show studio, where he gave the crowd free pizza. In a poster reminiscent of the Obama Hope poster, artist Mike Mitchell superimposed an image of O'Brien O'Brien with the words, "I'm with Coco," and an American flag in the background. The poster was widely circulated and displayed online at various rallies. As if it couldn't get any crazier, Jay Leno was to be named the host of The Tonight Show again. The man who promised in 2004 to pass the torch to Conan, then reluctantly did in 2009, and 7 months later he came crawling back for his spot on the throne. He could not just give up.
I had a show, my show got canceled. They weren't happy with the other guy's show. They said, "We want you to go back." I said, "Okay." And it seemed to make a lot of people really upset. And I go, well, who wouldn't take that job, though? Who wouldn't do that?
Conan wouldn't do that. Nobody sided with Leno. He became the butt of many jokes, and if you couldn't tell by now, Letterman wasn't really fond of him either.
I'm telling jokes and making fun of Jay Leno over and over and over, relentlessly, mercilessly,
Control group created.
simply for one reason, and that
Phase
is
jump
really
underway.
enjoying it.
Our voices
Jimmy
speak as
Kimmel
one.
also did an entire
Phase jump
monologue dressed up
underway.
as and
What
acting
lies
like
before
Leno.
us?
Great to be here on ABC. Hey, Cleto, you know what ABC stands for?
I know, man. I do, man.
Always bump Conan. That's right.
Jay saw the bit and decided to invite Jimmy onto his
Unleash
show,
our
and
wrath.
Jimmy proceeded to absolutely roast Leno on his own show.
Never order anything
Hostility
off the
research
TV.
complete.
Like NBC ordered your show off the TV?
Yeah, no.
Strippers I don't like in general because you have this phony relationship with them for
A
money.
colonizable planet
Similar
has
to
been
that
discovered.
of when you and Conan were on the Tonight Show together,
Yes, yeah.
passing the torch.
Right, yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
We have lives to lead here. You've got $800 million.
Research
On
complete.
January 21st, 2010, Conan received a $45 million buyout in exchange for leaving NBC, $33 million for him, and $12 million in severance pay for his staff. Conan also paid
Is it
around 50
time?
stagehands and
Control
various
group
crew
created.
members at least 6
The
weeks
unities
severance
will
pay
be
out of his
done.
own pocket.
We are
In his final
listening
moments on air,
with one
Conan
voice.
decided to go out with grace
Initiating
and
phase
class.
jump.
Yes, we have our differences right now. Yes, we're going our separate ways. But
You may
this company
speak.
has been my home
The
for
unities
most of my
will
adult
be
life.
done.
I am enormously proud of the work we've done together, and I want to thank NBC for making it all
Civilian
possible.
structure
I
complete.
have something to say to our
We
fans.
shall overcome.
Here's what all of you have done.
Harmony
You
research
made a
complete.
sad situation joyous
Civilian
and
structure
inspirational.
complete.
So to all the people watching, I
Another
can
planet
never ever
joins the
thank you
unity.
enough for the kindness to me.
Civilian
I'll think about it
structure
for the rest of
complete.
my life. Nobody in life gets exactly
Hostility
what they
research
thought they were
complete.
going to get. But if you work really hard
Unleash
and you're
our
kind,
wrath.
amazing things will happen.
Control
I'm
group
telling you,
created.
amazing things will
Our
happen.
voices
Conan's
speak as
final
one.
episode drew 10.3
colonizable planet
million
has been
viewers.
discovered.
Not only did O'Brien's
Civilian
final show
structure
beat all
complete.
late-night competition,
What
it
lies
outscored
before us?
all primetime shows
With
in the
one
18 to
voice,
49
we answer
demographic
the
from that
call
night and the
as
night
you
before.
wish.
On March 1st,
Our time
2010,
has
NBC
come.
confirmed that Jay
Civilian
Leno would
structure
officially
complete.
resume as the host of The Tonight
Harmony
Show.
research
1 month later,
complete.
Conan signed
What's
with
on your
TBS
mind?
to produce the
I am
late-night
the
talk
Unity
show,
servant.
Conan. The program
Civilian
debuted on the network
structure
in November,
complete.
premiering to 4
the
million
deck.
viewers. Leno's return to The Tonight Show accumulated 6.6
Civilian
million
structure
viewers.
complete.
He once
Your
again beat out
influence
Letterman
is
for much of
undeniable.
his run, remaining
You've
back
made
at the
a
number 1
wise
spot for
acquisition.
many years after. From a business perspective, NBC made the right decision. They saved their show and they saved their ratings.
Biggest thing people come up and say to me in gas stations and restaurants, I have so many people say this to me. Hey,
Unleash
partner, you
our
got
wrath.
screwed. I don't,
The
and I always
unities
tell them,
will
no,
be
I didn't.
done.
I didn't get screwed. I'm fine. It didn't work out.
Well, you did get screwed.
You think I got screwed.
Well, I think most people think you got screwed. I mean, Jay Leno thinks you
A
got screwed.
colonizable
Jay
planet
Leno
has
thinks
been
he got screwed.
discovered. Hostility research
How did
complete.
he get screwed?
Commerce upgrade complete.
In 2012,
Planet
Conan
item
said that
ready.
he had not talked to Jay since. The odds are we
Harmony
will both
research
leave this
complete.
earth without speaking to
You
each
may
other, which is
speak.
fine. There's really nothing to say. We both know the deal. He knows,
At
I know, I'd
last.
rather just forget.
Another
In
planet
2014,
joins the
Leno was
unity.
still number 1, but now he was much older, and the network wanted to usher in a younger and fresher face to
Our
take over
time
the
has
Tonight
come.
Show. Jimmy
Control
Fallon.
group
But this
created.
time, Jay Leno totally understood why.
You would have
Our
preferred to stay.
voices speak as one.
Well, it's always nice to keep working. Sure
The
it is.
unities will
Sure
be
it is.
done.
But am I extremely grateful? Yeah. Do I understand the circumstances? Yes, of course.
This is the part I don't understand. I mean, you're still
Well,
number one.
I think because you have talented people only wait so long before they get other opportunities, and you don't want to lose that opportunity. That makes sense to me. And I thought Jimmy has been extremely gracious and polite.
You said all of the same things exactly about Conan.
Huh?
Mining
Did I say the
upgrade
same thing?
complete.
Yeah, probably. Well, maybe I did.
It's easy to see how Conan got the short end of the stick, even though the short end was a $33 million payday and a brand new show on TBS where he was able to do literally whatever he wanted. It's pretty clear that Jay did not want to give up The Tonight Show, and he plays dumb, but he had to know that his 10 p.m. talk show would kill The Tonight Show's ratings, right? So did he really try to sabotage Conan on purpose, or was he honestly just following his boss's lead? In this classic hero versus villain story, it's way sexier and easier to just point the blame at Leno, but it's painfully obvious the real villain is NBC. Once again, the corporate executives operating in the shadows receive all of the financial upside and never have to face any of the criticism. The cheek-to-cheek smile combined with the empty, soulless eyes, the attention to detail, the perfect hair, the perfect jawline, the perfect appearance. This is just a facade to convince the world he is this successful, happy-go-lucky guy who is actually extremely disturbed and thinks about harming others 24/7. This is what a psychopath looks like. But this is a fictional character played by actor Christian Bale in the movie American Psycho, and Bale said that the inspiration for this character was the real-life Tom Cruise, whose empty laugh, intensity, and robotic physical movements are on full display in this 1996 interview with Rosie O'Donnell.
Because you saw her in Dead Calm, right?
Yes.
And you thought, I like her.
Yeah, she's very talented.
Yeah, she is talented. The new movie's supposed to be great.
Yeah, she's extraordinary.
She's coming on the show.
I know, she's
just a couple days, yeah. No, I like her, I do, it's okay. It's Renee I wasn't upset with. It's Renee in the movie with all that kissing with you, Tom. I didn't like that.
However, the actual interview that inspired the American Psycho character was this one with David Letterman, where Tom Cruise laughed uncontrollably while telling the story of him cutting off his co-pilot's oxygen as they flew to dangerous altitude levels.
Exotics have been unveiled by our scryers.
Find this airplane that we had to go on
Our
oxygen,
time has
and,
come.
Winds were better at a higher altitude,
complete.
so we climbed up. And I realized that we couldn't stay at that altitude if
Exotics
on
have
oxygen.
been
I had to
unveiled
descend
by our
because I didn't have enough
scryers.
oxygen. So I had a passenger in the back. So we figured out, you know, me and the co-pilot, that if we turned the oxygen off in the back guy, that we could make it at this altitude. so we, you know, it wasn't dangerous or anything, you know.
Exotics have been unveiled by our scryers. A colonizable planet has been discovered.
Letterman didn't seem to think this story was as funny as Tom thought it was.
He fell asleep. He fell asleep.
Exotics have been unveiled by our scryers.
He slept the whole
Exotics
way.
have been unveiled by our scryers. Scryer visions have revealed an unexpected bonus.
The kind of guy you wanted to have him sleep the whole way. You know, it's like just.
But honestly, looking at it from another direction, isn't that a
Exotics have been unveiled by our scryers. Hostility research complete. Defilers encroach upon us.
time for the love of God?
Unleash our wrath. Our voices speak as one.
You know, when we were landing on descent, he.
As the passenger blacked out after being oxygen deprived for several minutes, Tom finds it hysterical how confused the man was when he regained consciousness, feeling numb and disoriented.
Phase jump underway.
He's made a fine purchase. No refunds.
You may speak. Harmony research complete. Exotics have been unveiled by our scryers. Desecrators assault our world.
Is the unity with us?
We sense that an enemy has fallen. Their impurities no longer risk polluting the unity. A colonizable planet has been discovered. Exotics have been unveiled by our scryers.
Let's start our next move. Do not abandon me.
Civilian structure complete.
Now, some people look at this as nothing more than dark humor. The guy was fine, it was just a harmless prank. But maybe Christian Bale was actually onto something. And no, I'm not suggesting Tom Cruise is actually a serial murderer or enjoys the suffering of others, but he does have an obvious dark side, one that seems to be ignored by the masses. While they praise him for his box office hits and incredible stunts, Tom credits Scientology as the reason why he is so successful. Scientology is the quote-unquote religion that thrives on forced labor, signing its members to 1 billion-year contracts, having an alleged torture camp called The Hole, among other horrible allegations from former members. Tom is so dedicated to this religion, he abandoned his own 7-year-old daughter and has not seen her in over a decade. Today, we're going to deep dive into the career of Tom Cruise and try to assess why he is so loyal to the shadowy world of Scientology. Tom Cruise's life started out as an abused child who was desperate for a purpose. Cruise has described his father as a merchant of chaos who was a bully and a coward. For me, it was like, there's something wrong with this guy. Don't trust him. Be careful around him. You can imagine that not being able to trust your own father when you are a toddler created a difficult and chaotic environment for Cruise. Additionally, when Cruise was 7 years old, he was diagnosed with dyslexia, which made him feel even more isolated and confused. His father could never hold a steady job, which led to the family moving often. They moved from Syracuse, New York to Ottawa, Canada in 1971 when Tom was in 3rd grade. By the 6th grade, his parents got divorced, and his mother moved Tom and his sisters down to Louisville, Kentucky. According to Shane Dempler, a friend that went to school with Tom in Louisville, Tom was interested in becoming a Catholic priest. He had a very strong Catholic faith, Dempler said. We went to Mass, spent time in the chapel, and enjoyed hearing stories from the priests. We thought the priests had a great lifestyle and we were really interested in priesthood. Unfortunately, the boys were kicked out of the school after they were caught stealing alcohol and drinking in the woods. Shane recalled, the school wrote a letter to our parents saying they liked us both but would prefer if we didn't return. So we weren't kicked out, just preferred not to go. From there, Tom relocated to another seminary school in Cincinnati, Ohio after being recommended by a local priest. Tom was instantly hooked, said Father Rich Schneider, who gave the speech that brought Cruise to seminary school. I think he wanted a good education. With his parents going through a divorce, it was tough on him. That's maybe one of the reasons why he came here. His time in Cincinnati did not last long, as his family would ultimately relocate again to Glen Ridge, New Jersey, where he finished high school. After graduation, Tom knew acting was his future. Within his first year of auditioning for various Hollywood roles, he landed a small part in a film called Endless Love. Tom's handsome look and physique made him stand out amongst his peers, which got him an ancillary role in the film Taps. As a novice in the industry, he wanted to learn everything there was to learn about cinema.
The first film that I really got on was Taps. I went to every single department and I studied every part. I went to the camera department, I studied lenses, lighting. I was working with a great cinematographer, Owen Roseman. I studied what producers do, what writers do, what wardrobe does, what the stunt department does, props, sound. I studied every aspect.
Tom was obsessed. His work ethic gave Hollywood producers even more of a reason to invest in him. He earned another ancillary role in The Outsiders before securing his first lead role in the 1983 hit Risky Business. Risky Business is an 80s mood film that appealed to teenagers at the time. Every generation has a few cult classic coming-of-age films that are not cinematic masterpieces with intricate plots, but capture somewhat of a realistic look of the aesthetic, attitudes, and behaviors of the kids who grew up in that era. The film grossed $60 million at the box office, and he stole the hearts of young people in the USA. Even at the young age of 19, Tom was mature beyond his years, which can be felt during this 1983 interview with Bobby Wygant.
What do directors, how do they direct? Do they work with you a lot, or do they pretty much give you range?
Yeah, they leave me alone.
Whenever you wish. I'm on the job.
We await your command.
The director who will listen, and trust his artists.
Tell us what to do.
Control group created.
Tom holds a very controlled, poised demeanor. Even if he glares at you for a second, you can feel his intensity. He quickly shifts from high-energy laughter to extremely soft-spoken. Tom continued his trajectory as a rising star in Hollywood, and in 1986 he would land a lead role in a classic film that would officially secure him a 40-year legacy. It also ushered him into the controversial Church of Scientology. But first, a quick word from today's sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. Week 2 of the NFL is here, and Underdog wants to make it a lot more exciting. Join the millions of fans that played on Underdog last year. With their pick-up game, you could win money by making picks on your favorite players. You could win up to 1,000x your money just by choosing higher or lower on player stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and much more. Create entries of only NFL picks or mix and match across your other favorite sports. Underdog is available in 30+ states, including California, Florida, and Texas. Here are my picks for tonight's game, and if they hit, I'll 6x my money. New customers can pair their picks with this Josh Allen free pick. All he needs is 1 yard for this pick to win. Underdog is dropping a promo every day in September, so keep an eye on your lobby. Underdog is the place to play, so sign up and deposit now using promo code PatrickCC to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash and a free pick. Thanks, Underdog. In the 1980s, the US was exhausting all of its resources to push military propaganda and program young men for war. G.I. Joe, Cap Guns, Little Green Army Men, Boy Scouts were resurging in popularity, and of course the seemingly endless list of 1980s war movies. Writer Jerry Bruckheimer capitalized on the pro-military trend by focusing on the high-octane, action-packed jobs of fighter pilots. Originally, Tom did not want to participate in the film.
We were turned down by Tom Cruise over and over again, but we arranged with the Blue Angels back in, I guess, 85 to take him up in a jet, and he came down. He had a great ride, walked over to a payphone, called me up and said, Jerry,
Tom Cruise played the role of the charismatic fighter pilot, Pete Maverick Mitchell, an all-American patriot who oozes masculinity and charm. The film was a blockbuster hit, earning $357 million at the worldwide box office. Tom Cruise was a pop culture superstar. Aviator sunglasses became status quo late 80s fashion because of him, and the US military had its last year of positive growth after the movie was released. But behind the scenes, Tom was actually struggling. When I was 22, when I was making Top Gun, I got the chance to make my dream come true to become a pilot. I thought, this is the time to do it, so I had a couple of lessons, but then I blew it off. I'd tried to concentrate on what I was reading, then I'd get to the end of the page and have very little memory of anything I'd read. I would go blank, feel anxious, nervous, bored, frustrated, dumb. I graduated high school in 1980, but I didn't even go to my graduation. I was a functioning illiterate. I loved learning, I wanted to learn, but I knew I had failed in the system. In 1986, the year Top Gun came out, I became a Scientologist. A friend gave me a picture book on Scientology, and through this I was introduced to the writings of L. Ron Hubbard, who had founded the religion. Mr. Hubbard was also an educator who had been researching the field for decades. He had found that literacy and comprehension levels were declining worldwide, so in the 1960s he had developed study technology. It pinpoints 3 barriers to learning: lack of mass, you can't learn to fly a plane by just reading about it, you have to sit in the cockpit or at least have a picture of a plane; skipped gradients, trying to master skills or information without mastering or understanding that which comes before them; and misunderstood words, the most important one and cause for stupidity. Once I started focusing on those problems, everything fell into place. Cruise credits Scientology with helping him overcome his learning disability. He is one of the church's most high-profile followers and has become a spokesperson for the organization. However, his close friendship with David Miscavige, the current leader of Scientology, has placed him at the center of several controversies as well as question his legacy as a whole. Scientology is a religion that many consider to be a cult created by science fiction writer L. Ron Hubbard. According to the Church of Scientology, Ron was a highly trained lieutenant commander in the US Navy, who became a war hero that sunk a Japanese submarine, as well as a Purple Heart Award winner due to suffering blinding and crippling injuries through the course of combat in the Second World War. One medical report describes Hubbard as suffering a severe bone infection in the hip and back, forcing him to walk with a cane. Another shows his vision registered at 21 100, which according to Medical Review meant that he could not distinguish facial features until 3 or 4 feet away, could not make out a street sign beyond 10 yards, and could not read a newspaper. Whereas the official US Navy documents say that he was not qualified to be a lieutenant commander, he never received a Purple Heart, categorized his injuries as being exposed to light for too long and spraining his ankle, to which they prescribed him dark glasses and declared him ready for duty, as well as analyzed all potential evidence surrounding him sinking a Japanese ship, only for them to find that there was no submarine in the area at the time. Due to the conflicting information, we don't really know the truth about his time spent in the military. What we do know is that he was an incredibly proficient and fast writer. Hubbard holds the Guinness World Record for the most published works by one author. Battlefield Earth, To the Stars, When Shadows Fall, Typewriter in the Sky are just a few of his fantasy, alternate world fiction stories. Although he published books at an incredible rate, there seems to be a quantity over quality issue, because he was never able to make a financial living off of his work. There have been extensive studies and multiple sources that have corroborated this L. Ron Hubbard quote. He told us that writing science fiction for about a penny a word was no way to make a living. If you really want to make $1 million, he said, the quickest way is to start your own religion. If this quote is true, that would insist that a science fiction writer came up with a silly idea for a religion to get rich, and people happen to buy into it. As Hubbard struggled to sell his books and begged the Veterans Association to increase his monthly allowance so he could pay his bills, he began developing his next big book, Dianetics, The Modern Science of Mental Health. Dianetics is one of the fundamental pillars of Scientology that is still practiced to this day, nearly 75 years later. Since there was very little to no attention on the importance of maintaining positive mental health in the 1950s, the book became popular quickly, selling over 150,000 copies in its first year, earning Hubbard over $1 million. However, Hubbard's system faced a lot of criticism from doctors and psychologists. They say he lacked scientific evidence and empirical data, and he was using pseudo-scientific concepts to prove his nonsensical ideas. But then Hubbard played the conspiracy card. He convinced his followers that the only reason actual scientists didn't agree with his teachings was because psychologists, pharmaceutical companies, and the medical industry as a whole would lose billions of dollars if they acknowledged that Dianetics was the cure for all psychological pain. Additionally, Hubbard started to expand Dianetics into a broader spiritual belief system, which eventually led to the creation of Scientology in 1953. Hubbard did not complete his college education, nor did he spend years studying any field of medicine or health whatsoever, but he does claim that he cured himself from arthritis, bursitis, blindness, ulcers, and even the common cold, and he was able to do that through Dianetics. Dianetics theory describes the human mind as two parts, the conscious, analytical mind and the subconscious, reactive mind. Hubbard's beliefs were very similar to Sigmund Freud's theory of the unconscious mind and his understanding of how suppressed memories can shape an individual's behavior. However, in Hubbard's theory, all psychological pain and the mental and physical health problems that come from that were a form of memory known as engrams, which are stored in the reactive mind. While Dianetics focused on improving the mind, Scientology took things further by introducing the idea of the Thetan, an immortal spiritual being that lives inside every person. Hubbard believed that each person is actually a Thetan with limitless potential, but this potential is blocked by negative experiences or engrams that have built up over many lifetimes. Scientology therefore became a way to free the Thetan from these engrams, allowing the person to achieve spiritual freedom and reach their full potential. This process is known as going clear, which is the ultimate goal of someone practicing Dianetics. Once someone goes clear, they can then move on to higher levels of spiritual awareness and power, known as the operating Thetan levels. These levels are supposed to give the person more control over themselves and the world around them. Powers such as telepathy, exteriorization, which is the ability to separate from the body with full perception, telekinesis, the ability to move objects with thought. Where most religions focus on a servitude towards a god or a higher power, Scientology kind of does the exact opposite, and although they don't say it specifically, they essentially believe that they are gods or that they can become gods. Tom Cruise is known for reaching extraordinary levels of human excellence, such as learning how to become a fighter pilot, or climbing the tallest building in the world without any sort of harness or rope, among his endless list of other incredible stunts he has performed. It's safe to assume that Tom Cruise believes that going clear has allowed him to accomplish these incredible feats. However, the process of going clear is pretty intense and also costs a lot of money. To go clear, a trained auditor helps a person go through their past experiences to find and deal with the engrams that are holding them back. This process often involves using something called an E-meter, a device that measures the electrical resistance of the skin, which is believed to show the presence of engrams. Auditors use the E-meter to track a person's progress and help them find and resolve deep-rooted negative experiences. A person during an auditing session would be instructed to hold 2 metal cylinders connected to the E-meter, which sends a small electrical current through their body. The E-meter then measures changes in the electrical resistance, which Scientologists believe show changes in the person's mental and spiritual state. The auditor uses these readings to guide the person through questions, but these questions that they ask are often very leading and intended to poke and prod at the deepest, darkest secrets held in your mind and soul. When you learn about how these auditing sessions are done and the types of questions that they ask, you'll see how it almost comes off like an interrogation or a way to give personal information to an organization that could be potentially later used against you.
Yeah, so here's even how a Scientology auditor believes it works. You're holding the cans, there's a tiny little battery in that E-meter that's sending, you're completing the circuit when you pick up the cans, right? So you got a little thing going there, and that needle will respond to your physical movement, but that's not what we want. And I'm going to go, is there something you're withholding from me? And what I'm looking for is, right when I say at the end of me, I'm looking for the needle to dip to the right. So I'll give you a really good example of this. So you're holding the cans. Say, is there anything you're withholding from me? And I get an instant read.
The unities
and I go, is there anything you're withholding from me?
Our voices speak
so.
as one.
And I don't see the needle.
No, you don't see the needle. I go, well, what did you think of when I asked you the question? Okay, so you're going to go, I don't know what I was thinking of.
We shall overcome.
Take a look, and I'll help you out here. I'll try to steer you. Okay, so I'm looking to get roughly the same read while you're thinking about whatever. I mean, what was that? What was that right there?
And you can start digging to what?
I just want an answer to the question.
Civilian structure complete.
I can go to memory.
Yeah. And you can give me any answer you want. There's no way for me to know if you're giving me the right answer, but I want you to give me something.
Yeah.
If you say you can't give me anything, I'm going to keep using the email.
Hostility research complete.
Okay, so let's say you give me something. I'm going to get all the details about that. And until like time, place, form, and event, I want to know everything that happened. I want to know all the details. And by the way, I'm writing all this down, so I'm taking notes of everything you're telling me. That it's a bad thing that you did that you haven't told me about. Okay, so I'm keeping notes.
What lies before
when you represent to me that you've told me everything there is to tell, I'm looking for the needle to give like a smooth back and forth motion like this.
The unities will be done.
Floating needle. That means in Scientology land, we're done.
Now, many people argue that the E-meter is not exactly scientifically proven to really do anything. It does measure some sort of electrical current that takes place in your body and mind, and it is somehow connected, but we can't prove that it indicates anything about mental health or your physical or emotional well-being. Many people look at it as nothing more than hypnosis, and many believe that the auditing process is strategically designed to make people think that it's actually doing something positive in their life.
Being a victim is despised in Scientology because of something called the tone scale. The tone scale is sort of an emotional ranking of a person, and it goes from -40 to 40. Now 0 is death, and 0.1 is victim. It is seen as a bad thing to even feel any negative emotions in Scientology because Scientologists believe that if bad things happen to you, it's because you have done something bad to deserve it. It all felt like
the unities will be done.
So you can see how this is kind of a dangerous gray area. On one hand, the goal of the therapy sessions is for you to feel better, for you to cope with all of your past trauma and your negativity, and for that to then release and have positive ramifications on your life. But then the other hand is like, well, no, you're not actually solving these problems, you're just being tricked into thinking that you're solving these problems. and then you have to pay for more auditing sessions for you to keep solving these problems. And we'll go deeper into the financial component of all of this in a minute. But in the late 80s and early 90s, Tom Cruise wasn't overtly public about his Scientology ties as he was still growing his career. After Top Gun, he continued to have an incredible run in Hollywood. The Color of Money, Cocktail, Rain Man, Days of Thunder, A Few Good Men, The Firm, hit after hit after hit. Everything that Tom Cruise starred in was a box office smash. In 1988, he was the highest grossing box office star, and to this day, he is the #6 highest grossing actor of all time, with a combined total of $12 billion generated. He was a convincing leading man who does all of his own stunts. He had near perfect looks. On set, he was known to be honest, humble, and a genuine person. He was considered by many to be the perfect human, yet somehow still very mysterious.
You've got one of the nicest reputations in Hollywood. I mean, everyone who interviews you says, hands down, you are polite.
Logistics upgrade complete.
Giving. But I've interviewed you a lot of times, and you don't let people
encroach upon
close.
us.
How come?
I think I'm letting you pretty close, Lisa.
Do you feel like you hold something back, or you protect
with one
something?
voice?
Our armor is breached!
Yeah, I mean,
We're uncertain of our next move.
You know, I'm doing this.
Desecrators assault our world.
Do not abandon me.
Promote the
What
films.
lies
I mean, I really
before
don't
us?
hold back that much when you ask me anything. But I mean, there is a certain, you want to, certain things that I really don't want to talk about, and certain things that really aren't important, for
We are severely
aren't
crippled.
important for
Our time has
people to
come.
hear. I really don't even think they want to hear.
In the early 90s, Tom began speaking about the Church of Scientology more publicly.
Tom, let me try to understand. The Church of Scientology.
Our voices
Is
speak as
this
one.
something that feeds you
Desecrators assault our
spiritually,
world.
or is it a technique that just helps your mind? Is it a religion?
Yeah, I mean, by definition, it is a religion.
And is it for you? Does it help you in a spiritual way?
Yeah, but the thing is that it's not a matter of being fed something.
Commerce
And
upgrade complete.
it is not someone telling you how to live your life. It is not someone
A
feeding
colonizable
you
planet has
what
been
is
discovered.
real for them. It is what is real for you. It is a
Hostility research
exploration.
Does it bother you that it is considered so controversial, that it is considered a cult, that it has been investigated? I'm not telling you anything you don't know.
No, it doesn't. For me, I don't care. It doesn't affect me at all. It doesn't matter to me.
Complete.
Whatever anybody thinks or what they
Unity, guide
don't
my
know,
hand to safety.
I know what I know.
He still seemed to be reserved, not willing to go into immense detail about how the church functions and his role in it. In 1986, L. Ron Hubbard died, and David Miscavige was named chairman of the board, or the leader of Scientology, in 1987.
The Unity
2000
has fallen
hours
silent on
Friday,
one of our planets.
the 24th of January, AD 36. L. Ron Hubbard discarded the body he had used in his lifetime for 74
Logistics
years,
upgrade complete.
10 months, and 11 days.
At
The body he had
last.
used to facilitate his existence in this mess universe
Civilian
had
structure
ceased to be
complete.
useful,
Harmony
and in
research
fact
complete.
had
A
become an impediment
colonizable
to the work
planet has been
he
discovered.
now must do outside of its confines.
In 1993, Scientology became a recognized religion in the United States, which dramatically increased its legitimacy. For many years, the IRS refused to grant Scientology this status because of the concerns about its financial practices and whether it was really qualified as a religion. The Church of Scientology fought back by filing many lawsuits against the IRS and reportedly harassed IRS